Hi, good morning. Good Saturday morning. How are you all doing this morning? I'm hoping that you're having a beautiful time. Baby Bear is out, and so is their mama, Stripey Stripe. But anyway, I'm reading to you from the final chapter of Stones of Emptiness. And it's chapter 7. And it's from Stones of Emptiness, Chronicle 3 of the ABIS, Britiany A Christian. That's me. And of course, there's the synopsis and the back. And if you want to read it, you can pause it and read it. I think you can read it that way. Or you can go on to Amazon.com and read the synopsis. And I have a little bit about me on there. Yeah, I've got a couple paragraphs about me and my children, and a picture of me and my son on there. It's been since 2015, so it's been quite a few years ago. But you'll get to know a little bit more about me, about my family. Leave some stars. Well, I don't know if you can leave stars, but just take a look at it and see what you think, okay? Now, if you buy a copy, you can leave a review. Yeah, that would be great if you could do that. Okay, dear ones, shall we get started? Oh, well, maybe I should tell you first. This is published by Riseville Publishers, a division of Crete Ventures, Riseville Ventures. Second edition was May 2015. All scriptures contained herein are from the Old and New Testaments of the Authorized King James Version of the Bible. All photos and text copyright at 2014 by Britiany A Christian. All rights reserved. The names of people and many places in this book are fictitious and the invention of the author. Any resemblance to any persons living or dead is purely coincidental. And of course, I dedicated this book to my children, Joel and Leah, Karen and Roy. My love for them, like the love of God for us all, will never die, but abide forever. And then, of course, I give a list of my books, which I showed. I'm going to download a video that shows my books all together. And here's the scripture. But the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it, the owl also, and the raven shall dwell in it, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. And that's from Isaiah 34:11, King James Version of the Bible. And then there's Revelation 11, 1-7, King James Version. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in ashcloth. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks, standing before the God of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth, and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. These have the power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over the waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit, the abyss, shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. So you can see it's been prophesied. The beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit, the abyss. The abyss is what I'm saying. Chapter 7, Babylon looms in the horizon. Okay. Let's go to chapter 7. And this is a pretty long chapter. Oh, I've got a chapter 8 on this one. I haven't read these for a while. I thought they were all 7 chapters. Well, this one has an extra chapter. Let me drink some water. Oh, that was a surprise. That was good. Pure life. I'm not promoting it. I'm just showing you what I'm drinking. Oh, and I wanted to show you something else. My lip gloss. This was on a YouTube commercial, and it's called Yummy Clear Fresh Yummy Gloss by CoverGirl. And I'm not promoting that either. That's just what I've been using. It's a little bit sticky, but it sure takes away the dryness out of my lips. Okay, shall we get started? Chapter 7. Babylon looms in the horizon. Mikhail rushed out of the cab in Cyprus and into the church and asked one of the men in the church where the wedding was. The man smiled broadly and kindly offered to take him to the gardens where it was being held. Oh, it's in the gardens. When Michael arrived in the gardens, he could see that the gazebo was decorated lavishly with a profusion of white, lavender, and blue flowers. The gardens surrounding the gazebo were exquisite. It was breathtaking what the florists had done to turn this place into a wedding delight. There were chairs set up on either side of the aisle, and even now a few people began to sit in them. This surprised Mikhail because, as far as he knew, they were the only ones that knew about the wedding. Mystery. He saw Joshua standing nervously at the gazebo, and Benny was there too, Pastor Benny. Mikhail rushed to Joshua's side, and Joshua noticeably breathed a sigh of relief. "I'm glad you came. I didn't think you were going to make it," Joshua said in a stage whisper in Russian to the man he now considered a good friend. Mikhail smiled and made his apologies. Joshua just smiled them away. "I'm just glad you're here," Joshua said to his best man again. The wedding music was playing softly, but now the familiar strains of Ponchabel, canon in D, began to start. Everyone stood and turned to watch as Rose began her walk towards the front. Mikhail's heart skipped a beat as he watched his lovely bride-to-be. She was so beautiful that it took his breath away. She knew it, didn't she, when she picked out that dress? Her lovely lavender-colored, long-sheath dress accentuated her lovely figure. And with the maid of honor bouquet that she held in her hand, she could easily have been mistaken for the bride. When Rose saw Mikhail, she smiled the biggest smile of welcome at him and made him feel so loved. This beautiful woman would soon be his bride. His heart almost burst with happiness. She made her way to the opposite side of where Joshua and Abigail were standing. Benny and Sonia's children, little Annabella and Oscar, started down the aisle. Oscar, looking so adorable, had on a black tux and bow tie and carried the wedding rings on a pillow. Little Annabella was dressed in a dress similar to Abby's and looked like a miniature bride, as she scattered rose petals down the aisle. Abigail then started down the aisle. She was breathtaking. She wore an ivory satin sheath dress with beautiful intricate lace that ended in a small trail behind her. She reminded him of what Cinderella must have looked like at her wedding to Prince Charming. Oh, you remember that? Cinderella. In her upswept hairdo, white flowers were fastened that gave her face a sweet look of purity. The white roses and gardenias that made up the bouquet she carried finished the amazing look of a bride so in love. Oh. Her face was radiant as she looked at Joshua, and for a moment Abigail could tell everyone else faded away for them. Abigail knew this is what love was all about. It was about two people finding each other and wanting to become one and living out their lives in love with one another. He was so happy for them as he watched them standing in front of Benny. Benny prayed a short prayer of benediction and greeted everyone there, and then began the marriage ceremony with the vows for them to repeat to each other. As they said their vows, their eyes were fastened on one another. Abigail didn't know when he had seen a couple more in love. When they said their adieus, it was as if time stood still for a moment. He could feel the presence of God in the midst of this bride and groom. It seemed as if they were bathed in the presence of God and what could only be described as light all over them. Abigail closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, the light was gone. Abigail was sure he had witnessed something supernatural and amazing. When Benny said, "Kiss your bride," everyone started clapping as they kissed. And then Benny announced loudly with a huge smile on his face, "I introduce to you Mr. and Mrs. Joshua Granger." Rose had tears running down her face, and Abigail did too. The bride and groom were radiant in joyous love. Everyone went up to them and hugged and kissed them. Abigail found out later that Abby and Joshua had invited everyone that was in the church for a tour to come and witness their marriage. See how God provides? That's so awesome. Everyone there was joyous and happy, and many people were saying how enchanting the ceremony was and how stunning the bride looked. The bride and groom then announced to the crowd to please come and enjoy a buffet dinner with them. They were going to pay for everyone's buffet dinner to celebrate. Yay! They announced the name of the restaurant they had reserved, and many were already saying that they would be there. Hold on a second, I'm sorry.